Inevitably, you'll come to the point where you'll need to debug your code. As the name suggests, this is often done to get rid of bugs in your code, but it can also be used to elucidate what the code is doing by sort of slowing down the execution and seeing it step through the code line by line in real time. Sometimes code execution, in other words, the order in which execution moves from one line to another, can be ambiguous, right? Such as when dealing with nested loops, conditionals, and so on. It's not always clear what value a variable holds at what point in that execution flow. And debugging can go a long way to help elucidate these murky areas in your code, so as to not only write code that works, but also code that you understand how it works. Now, Visual Studio offers a great set of debugging options, but this lesson will just sort of focus on the most basic and often used features. So the easiest way to check to see everything's set up correctly for debugging is to open up a Unity script in Visual Studio and see if the debugging option attached to Unity is available for you. You'll see it right up here with that sort of green arrow play symbol. All right, so assuming that's all set up correctly, you should now be able to open up a Unity script and see the debugging option attached to Unity. So let's go to arrays and loops, the script that we worked on previously, and actually just make sure it's enabled in your test game object right there. The first thing you want to do for debugging is to set a breakpoint. And you can, well, I'll just place one anywhere arbitrarily. You can set a breakpoint on any line of code with that little red dot. We set this breakpoint so that when you run the application, it runs all of the code prior to this line as it normally would. But as soon as it reaches this breakpoint, the program pauses and then prompts you to control the code execution from this point forward until you choose to end the debugging. So this lets you in effect slow down the code. And a good place to illustrate this is in a loop. So go to the loop that we hadn't commented out and set the breakpoint in the margin like so, right here where the conditional is within the for loop. So it's kind of self-explanatory, but we can either debug by attaching to Unity or choosing attach to Unity and play. If you choose attach to Unity, you have to just manually move over to Unity and hit that play button. Otherwise, if you choose attach to Unity and play, you just have to start it from here. It'll automatically start Unity for you. So let's just try this out right now. Hit that. So you kind of briefly saw it shift over to Unity and then come right back to code. So what's happening here is the breakpoint was reached rather quickly because code is read very quickly, and it automatically turns your attention back to Visual Studio at the line of code that you set the breakpoint. So you can now go through each line of code. You can sort of step through each line by using the F10 key on your keyboard. You can also access it through the menu here as well, these options here, but we'll use the F10 key for now. Now notice how I can use F10 to step through the lines of code. It shows you the execution flow. In this case, it's going through the conditional, and if it evaluates false, it goes right back to the for loop, right? The next code, the next line of code, which, you know, if it bypasses this because it's false, it's going to go right back. That's going to be the next line of code. When it evaluates true, we'll see it go to the debug log. Now, you can use the locals window. If you don't see it, then just go to debug windows locals, and it'll give you an overview of all the local variables. So here, I'll just keep that there. And so keeping an eye on the I variable. So if we're trying to figure out what's going on with that, we just hit F10 and watch the I variable. There you go, it hits 0, so we know it's going to exit this loop. Right, there we go, it exits the loop because, well, actually if I is greater than or equal to 0, and now it's -1, so it exits the loop. So if we hit F10, it enters the loop again. So this for loop, it starts up all over again when the update method it's inside of gets called again, right? We know that the update method gets called roughly every 60th of a second, if it's 60 frames per second, running at 60 frames per second. So that's why it keeps looping through seemingly infinitely if we keep pressing F10. So you may be wondering why it immediately loops back through this for loop, right? After all, there's a bunch of other code outside of this update method. Shouldn't execution flow first continue on outside of this update method? Well, yes, exactly. But by using the F10 key, we step over all of that intervening code and instead focus only on the code flow as it is local to this method. So if you want to actually see how the code flows organically, you can instead use the F11 key to step into each line of intervening code. Just to show you here in the debug menu, as we saw earlier, step over, step into, and we're not going to really look at step out, but this will cover pretty much all we need to know. So right now we want to step into, right? So with F11, now we'll run this for loop. Watch I, it's going to, as before, we expect it to exit at minus 1. Right? Now it doesn't loop back to that for loop. Code execution flows to the next logical block. In this case, it appears to be the Power Up Manager update method. That's what flows right after the update method for the arrays and loops test. All right, so that's a basic look at how to set a breakpoint and go through a loop. But now let's turn to a more complex loop, such as the for each we used for the sprite renders that animate our cube's fade. So let's go there. So here let's set a breakpoint right about there, where the array of all the different renderers are being set with the getComponentsAndChildren method, right? Excuse me. You're going to have to remember to turn off the play button here in Unity before you can do debugging again. So yeah, let's do this again. Hit the attach to Unity and play. All right, so let's use F10 key to see how code execution flows here. All right, makes sense, goes to the for each, then sets the color. Everything's working as we expect. However, notice that it will always execute this else clause since we have to actually press the teleport button to engage the initial conditional that actually shows a fade occurring by first setting the color to 0, or the color's alpha property to 0, and then lerping from there, right? We actually have to press the button, right, in the cube controller. I'll get red in the cube controller. So what do we do about this? If we go to Unity and we think that we can, we'll just initiate it here in Unity with the space bar button, it doesn't work. So I'm going to stop this and we'll see what we can do about this. So we'll start this again, but this time what we'll do is set the bool ourselves in code. Since we now control line-by-line execution directly in code, we can temporarily, while it's debugging, set the isDisappear value to true. Actually, in order to do this properly, what we'll need to do is create a reference that we can then reference by debugging to the bool that we're interested in. So let's just do this. It's in the cube controller. So let's say get component cube controller, and then let's store that reference to a local cube controller. And This is just for debugging, so we can easily change this value while we're debugging. We'll reference that controller that in turn references that bool that we're interested in. So attach to Unity and play. All right, so hitting F10 to get to that point. All right, so we'll now set this bool manually to true, right? It's emulating that button press. And as we run through the loop the first time, we want to keep this bool set to true as it first goes through each renderer and sets its opacity to 0. So we're simulating that on this frame. On this frame, we've engaged teleport. So we'll want to watch that it goes to this line instead of the else clause. Yep, there we go. And then we set the opacity for, which we can see down here. Well, more on that later. Let's just set each sprite renderer. And then we'll flip it to false to observe the lerping effect as we would expect. All right, we know it's now set each sprite renderer's opacity to 0 because now it's exiting that for each loop. And well, we don't have to manually set it to false because the default is false, right? So this time as we enter the for each, yep, it's false. So now with each renderer opacity set to 0, we'll start lerping, right? On the next frame, this is the next frame, although we're slowing it way down with debugging, this would actually be the next frame after we set the opacity on the previous frame. So what we should do actually is let's pin the renderer so that we know which renderer is currently being lerped. Remember, this local renderer variable represents the current item in the indexed array that the loop is working with. So here we can actually observe it as the index increments with each loop. So let's just pin that. Just hover over it and then select the pin over here. It can be a little finicky. Right? It pins it right there. So we see this now is the cube sprite renderer we're working with at this moment. And so keeping an eye on that, we'll also keep an eye on the opacity change as we expect it to increment as it starts to lerp on, it's going to increment each sprite render in this loop by a certain value. So we'll watch that at the same time as I keep pressing F10 here. There we go, 0.029, that's what increments each frame. And we expect that to be the case for each renderer as it sets it. So this, now we're on the left eye, and it's going to set its opacities just like it did the previous one, right? As I stop it there, you see the game runs from the point at which it paused, and we took control execution flow over, and it kept running. I could have chosen to continue, and it would just continue to play out the game in this area right here while we were debugging. But I just decided to stop it because really I just wanted to show you this practical example of how you can go about debugging, inspecting those values in real time and using the locals window, pinning them, changing those values, and so on. So when you stop debugging, you'll notice that those pins and the breakpoint, right, they hang around, right? This is for future reference if you want to come back and keep debugging. So you can simply delete these when you don't any longer need to continue debugging. So just click on the red dot there to get rid of it, and right click on the pin if you want to remove it. Otherwise, it'll retain that pinned variable that you're interested in the previous time you debugged. All right, so what you saw here is debugging through Visual Studio. right, through the Visual Studio Debugger. But you can also debug with things we've seen before, such as, simple things like the debug log method to output values and sort of inspect them as the game runs. You can also debug by changing exposed, or in other words, public fields in your Unity inspector and directly accessing them, changing them there, and seeing how that affects your game, right? We kind of showed that in a previous lesson. Another debugging option you have available to you is that you can watch the game move along frame by frame, right? So we'll press the play button here to start our game. I'm going to hit pause, right? And now I can move it ahead one frame at a time simply by hitting this little next arrow. You see how we can see the sphere here is moving ever closer to our character. See, we can inspect the transform position as it changes. Or as we were interested in before with debugging, we were interested in how the sprite render is being lerped, the opacity is being lerped when we engage teleport. So that would be, we'd be keeping our eye on this alpha property. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly hit spacebar and then pause it again. Right? There you go. It's already incremented a bit. So looking at the, this represents the opacity right here in the inspector. You can see the cube fading back in, and we can get a sense of how much it increments on each frame. Sort of the same thing as we just saw in the Visual Studio Debugger, but in a different way, right? So this is useful as well for debugging. Okay, that's debugging in a nutshell. Kind of technical stuff, maybe not the most fun stuff, but it's there to help you figure things out so then you can spend more time, hopefully, on the fun stuff. So on that note, a lot more fun stuff ahead. I'll see you there.